Welcome to Eyes Wide Open, a podcast aiming a curious eye at what's due in eye care. This podcast is a service provided by Canadian Eye Care Business Review. Please visit their website at eyecarebusiness.ca to stay up to date with the latest eye care news and lots of great resources and articles on topics like practice management, marketing, new services, team and leadership, and finances and operations. I'm your host, Glen Chiasson. I'm an optometrist practicing in Toronto, Ontario. I love to learn new things, and we're going to use this trait to investigate what's new in eye care and the vast array of areas that eye care providers are lucky enough to work in every day that we're in our offices. So let's take a look. Eyepointment.com is not another optical job board. Eyepointment.com provides simple to deploy predictive analytics for eye care providing practices looking to hire the best employees. The predictive analytics tools are powered by Talent Sorter. The service is partnered with Indeed.com, the world's leading job site. Talent Sorter uses patented science to calculate a fit score out of 100 for every candidate. Fit with the job, fit with their manager, fit with people, fit within the company. The higher the score, the better the likely fit. Today we're going to be speaking with Tim Brennan, Chief Visionary Officer at FitFirst Technologies. He has more than 25 years of business, management, and HR experience, including over a decade at FritoLay. As you can imagine, with this sort of varied history, Tim has some great insights into the hiring process. He uses these insights to inspire organizations to change their hiring process so they can get better results through the use of assessment tools. He's helped organizations generate an ROI of over 300% in 1 year, all through better people practices. A quote of his that I really like is, "If it wasn't for the people, this job would be easy." All right. So I'm here with Tim Brennan from Eyepointment. Tim, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast.
Well, Glenn, thanks so much for inviting me to come along. This should be fun.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting discussion. So we're going to jump right in. You spent a lot of time in your career thinking and talking about hiring practices and how HR departments do that and the need to re-examine how that whole process works. So what got you started doing that?
Wow. So, what got me started, I did a number of years working with a little company called FritoLay Snack Foods. And in that career, in that time I was there, I hired probably about 250 people, Glenn. And, I got it right about half the time. And the other half of the time, I really couldn't tell you why it didn't work out. And I became a little bit obsessed about trying to understand is why did I get it so right one time and I missed it on the other? And I started going deeper and deeper to try to look at what was it I doing. And I came to the final conclusion that my challenge was I probably just wasn't measuring what matters. And that became, next 20 years of my life has become about trying to understand measuring what matters so that when we make decisions about those people representing our businesses and working with us, they are the people that we really want to have working with us and representing us and being part of growing our business.
So before we get too deep into this, can we not gloss over the fact that you have contacts at FritoLay and I am sitting here without any snacks at all?
Oh,
is that something we can delve into? Maybe off.
Well, I'm 20 years away. I've been 20 years ago in that industry.
Those
there, Glenn.
Chips will be pretty stale.
Yeah, I'm afraid to say. I have friends there, but I don't have a direct link anymore to the warehouse. Sorry.
Fair enough. I will provide my own snacks. So I was looking through some of your material online, and one thing that caught my eye is you referenced this survey that was done showing some of the top HR issues, and I'll just list a few of them here. Attraction selection, reducing turnover, talent scarcity, wage pressure, employment branding, employee engagement, succession planning, leadership development, and performance management. So I'm going to assume, which is always dangerous, that it's your opinion that not much has really changed here.
Well, yeah. If you go and do that survey today with HR managers in any industry, what happens is you get the same list. Now, we were talking 20 years ago about the scarcity of talent. And today we're talking about the scarcity of talent.
Right.
We were having, I just couldn't find the right person, so I hired the best person that applied. I heard that 20 years ago. I hear that today. It feels like in 20 years in this business, I'm still dealing with the same problems. We just don't seem to ever really take them off the list.
Yeah, I like what you were saying earlier about when we were talking offline about employment branding. So maybe give us a little bit more about that.
Oh, sure. Well, if you think about in your business, so if you're looking at your own shop, in your own office, your employment brand represents to the people who are applying for a job what it's going to be like to work there. Your employment brand is your people who they meet at the reception desk. It's going to be the people they meet when they're going through your office, through their appointments. It's going to be the person who delivers them the product, the person that phones them to confirm their appointments. Your brand is those voices and it's those people. So when you're hiring somebody, what you're doing is you're really hiring someone who's going to represent your brand. And organizations that have a clearly defined brand experience and an employment brand, they're the ones who will attract people naturally who fit their brand.
Right. And I guess a challenge then is it's hard to be a McDonald's when you're a small business.
Yes, but it's interesting. Does your employment brand have standards in your own environment where you want people to be greeted a certain way? You want them to be appreciated a certain way. Those become part of your brand, and you standardize those things, and then those people representing you, fulfilling those executions, those are the people that are going to create that experience. So, if you think about McDonald's, the McDonald's is a brand that and a wide range of people are going to know what it means. Yes, because a lot of people have had experienced the brand. If you're a smaller operation and you may not have that same type of reach, but I can tell you, if you're in a smaller community, you may be surprised what people out there are saying about you because your customers talk to their friends.
Right. Excellent. Anything else you wanted to touch on those HR issues?
Well, I think a big thing is you think about that list that you were reading off earlier.
Yeah.
The problems haven't changed, but the technology may have. The problem's the same. The technology now that we're using to try and solve the problems has shifted. More and more is online. It's the attraction strategies are now all online. If you're not online, you're not going to be finding the people. Nobody's advertising anymore in the newspaper.
Right.
It's not about getting your ad out, on a bulletin board anymore.
Right. One example that I did like when I was reading some of your material is thinking of 3 people that you know who are all the same age. And so tell me a bit about why you use that example, because I thought it was very good.
All right. So over the last 10 years, there's been an awful lot of assumptions and generalizations being made about the generations in the workplace. Glenn, I've got this video that I could run for you. And it's a gentleman who is telling me about the new employees coming into his office. They don't have the same work ethic. They aren't prepared to work as hard as they used to, as the people I have today. They all expect that they should be running the place, and they all have ideas about how I can improve my business, and even though they've never worked in it before.
Right.
He's talking all about this sense of entitlement.
Right.
Glenn, the video's from 1968.
Things haven't changed. You're right.
Haven't changed. So I just think that using age, or you can even talk about using ethnicity, but using age, let's stay with generations. Using age is a poor way to define who are the people that would be the best to represent you in your business. So think about for a minute, you and I, we're probably roughly the same age. You think for yourself of 3 people you know who are the same age as you. You may not be your friends, but they're people you know. Do the 3 of you all have the same point of view when it comes to an issue? Probably not. Right. Do the 3 of you all behave the same way? Could you imagine if we all acted the same way all the time? Well, we don't. There's people I get along with. There's people I don't get along with because they act differently than the way I'd like people to act.
Right.
But we're the same age.
My slogan is everybody has their quirks.
Everyone has their quirks. And I'd like to say everyone has their signature traits, the things that make them who they are. And one of them might be the way that they approach a problem.
Right.
Right. I may be somebody who gathers information very quickly, makes a decision, and as I get new information, I'm very comfortable changing my mind and moving along, which you might think I sound a little indecisive because I don't seem to ever make up my mind until I finally get to the end of the road.
Right.
Right. Other people.
Yeah, I think that I was just going to say that the takeaway from that is that, age is really not the best way to predict someone's behavior.
Right.
I think that's the takeaway I got from that. And everybody has stories like that where you have your typical millennial who was an absolute go-getter and your, Gen Xer who is not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. No, and I have a 92-year-old mother-in-law that is a whiz on texting and on her iPad. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you want to communicate with my mother-in-law, you text her. You don't send her an email. She doesn't read her emails.
Right.
Does that sound familiar to someone else?
That's funny. She's too busy texting to read her emails.
She doesn't. She texts. She doesn't read emails.
That's funny. Yeah, and I remember the first time I got a text from my mom. Same sort of feeling. Like, wow, you're jumping into the new technology. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think we've covered that one off.
Yep. For sure. And so it's sort of a nice segue into the next one. When we're looking at job candidates, you and your company tend to focus on the candidate's journey, where they're at now, and what do they want from work.
Yeah, it's about the total person.
Right.
There's what we want to help an organization do is gather the data so they can make the best decisions and they can be measuring what matters. And you know what? The things that very much I find that you need to look at is, first of all, who are they? Who they are. That's one of the reasons why within the work we do, we look at tools that help us try to measure and understand and create questions to follow up so that we can then understand the who they are.
Right.
The who they are is different than the how they act.
Right.
Remember, when someone's in the recruiting process, they may not act like who they are. You take the who they are, you then also add on to where are they on their life journey. So I am going to meet somebody whose resume is completely full of 25, 30 years worth of experience, and they have had highly responsible jobs. And they now want to they want to stay in the workplace because in their life career right now, they want to still be working, but they want to have social interaction with other people, but they don't want all the responsibility anymore.
Right.
People would look at that resume and say, wow, this person's overqualified.
Right.
So understanding where they are in their journey and how does this role that you're offering support their journey?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Where are they currently as opposed to, just looking at the resume and brushing it off?
But it's funny, Glenn, that that's an easy thing to do, right? We take the resumes, we put them in the yes, no, maybe piles, and we look at education and work experience. We go and say, here's the person. Wow, this person can do what I need them to do. I'll put them in the A pile. Oh, this person doesn't have any experience. I'll put them in the no pile. And this person has too much experience, goes in the maybe pile.
Right.
And somehow that became the early filter. We truly believe that to measure what matters, do it up front, measure what matters, make those the filter. And let's start with the who these people are. To do that, we need to have information that's not in a resume.
So good segue to the next thing I want to touch on is Talent Sorter and iPloyment use a fit score.
Yeah.
Right. And so to gauge how well the person's going to fit with the job and the environment in the office and what have you. So I guess my question would be, what are some traits that you found that have led team members to really excel in an optometry office?
Oh, great question. So over a period of over 2 years with over 100 plus offices in this industry, we were able to capture 25 different data points of individuals along with having performance results as well. I'd like to say, who are the people that in your business that you wish you had more of? Who are the stars?
Right.
I also wanted to collect the data of those people that you hired and you thought they were going to be stars because, Glenn, why would you have hired them if you didn't think they were going to be a star?
Correct.
And over time, they became what I would call in your business a passenger. They're okay, they're all right, and frankly, they don't hurt you.
Right.
But but you've got other people that you go to in your business.
Right.
So I need to understand, what do those people have in common? Because that's what you liked about both groups. And I needed to understand, what do they have that's different? And when I did that over 25 behavioral data points, I actually came up with about 8 that mattered.
Okay.
So the other ones we found were in both groups. So it might have been important, but it wasn't the defining factor. So one of them was, we found, so we take a look at sort of an optician assistant role. We saw extroversion. They often see social functions as something that gives them energy. They prefer to lead, not follow. So when someone came in the door, they guided them through, right?
Right.
There's the, how can I help you? And there's the, and here's how I'm going to help you.
Right.
And we found that the stars were the, here's how I'm going to help you.
Right.
We also saw they had an accepting of collective goals, so that you would have a team environment, and they weren't about being number one in the room. They were about being the part of a team.
Excellent.
It's funny when you start thinking about it, you go, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. They focus on accuracy, following specific procedures, which is probably, I think, sometimes why your person gets into a bit of a trouble in the roles, is that because that's maybe not something we were measuring for. We just assumed they had it because they didn't have any spelling errors in their resume. They knew how to use spell check, so they must be focused on accuracy.
It's like you're reading my mind, Tim.
They're okay with change. They're generally okay with change, but that's important, is that it doesn't throw them off.
Yeah.
Okay. The work itself and gives them satisfaction. They go home at the end of the day feeling like they accomplished and helped somebody.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, you can just start seeing how this person's coming up. High levels of diplomacy. They've got energy, but it's not over the top. It fits in with our environment. That's why you wouldn't hire me. And they're easy to get along. Are you
implying I'm low energy?
No, but my gosh, could you imagine if I was the person you met at the front door of an optometrist shop? You'd be exhausted before you even met the doctor.
That's called softening them up, but yes.
Yeah, okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, so you've got this picture of this person. Now, everything I just described to you, where is that in the resume?
Right. So let's say we need to hire a superstar, and I'm sure most of us do. How do we then go to the next level with you? How do we, what's the process if we say we want iPloyment to help us find our next superstar?
Well, it's really quite simple. It's like a sort of a 3-step process. The first thing you do is you go to iPloyment.com, and you can go there and you can go and activate, create an account and that'll give you your own dashboard where you'll be able to put in your business name, and you'll be able to see all the different jobs that are already preloaded at iPloyment just for the industry. So each one of these jobs has a different set of questions attached to them to help create the fit score.
Okay.
So it's not one fit score for every role. You go in and you select which job would I like to post out to the world.
Right.
You have an opportunity to edit the job description. You can add on screening questions as well. There's a set of screening questions you can choose to add so that it'll help you sort your candidates later. So there's questions about, can you work evenings, weekends?
Sure.
Asking them about specific credentials so that you can see they have access to a vehicle to get to work. If that's a question that's important, you can turn those questions on.
Okay.
You can refine the source there. You activate the position, and boom, you just did everything you need to do. Because now the system is going to take that and it's going to post it out for you. It's going to put it out on Indeed.com. It's going to push it out to Google Jobs and Glassdoor, all for you.
Nice. You
will also have a URL link that is provided specifically for that job. And then you take that and you can post that I always suggest to people, you put it in the footer of your email, but you have a link that you can send people out to. So just keep doing all the things you always do to attract people.
Right.
But now you've got a URL that you can say, please go here to apply. Someone walks in the door with a resume. Thank you so much. Here's the URL. Would you please go here to apply? And it goes straight to your application.
Nice. Could I post that URL on a billboard?
You can post it anywhere you But
even in a classified ad in my newspaper?
Absolutely. I'm just wondering how many people are going to see it.
Zero.
A little point, Glenn, on attraction.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. For 50 years, we depended on classified ads and newspapers and job boards to find the next person.
Yep.
Who in your community reads classified ads and goes to job boards? Typically the unemployed or the soon to be unemployed.
Right.
When did we decide that the next talent for our business is going to come in the door through that client group?
I think it's inertia, right?
Right.
It's what you've always done.
I tell you, you get that URL on the bottom of your invoices. You put that in, a little handout, a little email that goes out to all your employees so that they can pass it on to people that they know who should apply, and encourage them to, even when I'm a true believer, even when you aren't hiring, you should always be looking.
Right.
And there's no reason why you couldn't leave a job open all the time so that you could just have people come on in and apply. It's amazing who you'll catch when you don't need somebody.
For sure. So let's assume we now have our next great team member.
Yeah.
We've sorted through, we found the best fit. What's something that you've seen eye care providers do that sets them up for failure with a new hire?
It's not paying attention to the information.
Okay.
It's you have this information. It's not just when they've once they've hired them. It's when they're going through the hiring selection process. So iPloyment provides you with a fit score for every candidate. It's a number between 0 and 100, so that you can rank your candidates by fit first, and then look at their education and work experience.
Right.
Right. What happens is they ignore that and go straight to the resumes and go back to the old way of doing things. It's kind of like that person standing on the dock with one foot on the dock and one foot in the boat, in the iPloyment boat. And when they keep straddling back and forth between the two of them, and as the boat starts moving a little away from the dock, they run back to the resumes.
Right.
And they bring someone in for an interview and they go, wow, but they're a really good person. And they ignore the fact that they had a low fit score.
Right.
Now, the fit score, the fit report that you get, and the interview guide that you get with every candidate, that's going to help you understand, if I hire this person, what am I going to get? Because remember we said way on earlier is that people do not always act like who they are.
Right.
Well, if we understand who they are, and we know eventually that the mask of pretending to be someone I'm not is eventually going to come down. I'm going to eventually meet this person. And in that report is the reason why you're going to have challenges working with them or managing them, or get concerns about them representing your brand.
Right. The facade sort of breaks down under stress often.
Well, it over time, you just get tired.
Yeah.
But there's also an upside to this, is that when you have that information, and if I understand, let's go back to the feedback, for instance, as an example. Right. If I understand that you are wired as a person who needs consistent feedback because that's how you keep focused on your work, then I know that I need to give you feedback to keep you engaged and part of the team. Now, it's interesting. It's not about the candidate. It's about me, the manager now.
Right.
Am I prepared to do what I need to do so this person will be successful?
Right.
It's in there. And I think the failure is sometimes we put all the emphasis on the candidate failed and forget the fact that as managers, we didn't do what we needed to do, even though we knew from the reports, this is what the person's going to be like.
Right. We need to set them up for success.
Yeah. And set yourself up for success. Right. If you're not one who doesn't give feedback and doesn't give encouragement, then look for people who best fit that picture.
Right. So another question sort of as we wrap this up here, what's one thing that your program did for a client, or for a hire for that matter, that you didn't expect?
That's a really great question. Yeah, we stepped back in the office here and we were thinking about that. And it was unanimous and very quick, by the way. And it was even then a surprise that I didn't expect. But my whole team came back to me and said, that it was about higher rates of diversity inclusion in the hiring process, was that we had more clients, more employers having more people of different backgrounds because they were looking at fit, not always at education, work experience. And we saw much more diversity and inclusion in clients, in customers, where that was not part of their natural path.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we felt really good about that too. So,
sure.
And again, if we're hiring for fit and the person doesn't have the education and work experience, if I provide them the education, work experience, and they fit this kind of work, there's a very high probability I'm going to be able to keep them longer.
Right.
What we need to get away from is training people who should never have been put in that role in the first place. There's a huge cash saving for a business.
Right. Yeah, forcing people into a role that they're probably not best suited for.
No, but if they're in a situation where they need to get a job, that interview, they may just sell you on hiring them.
Right.
They might be really good at selling you, but that doesn't necessarily go back to those characteristics about focus on accuracy and
right.
Get satisfaction from the work.
Yeah, things that are important.
Well, it's about measuring what matters.
That's right. Is there something that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
Actually, it's really funny. That's the question I always ask in interviews.
Maybe you should ask me that question then.
It's when we're interviewing in our own office, that's our last question. What did I not ask you about that I should have? I guess the question that I think I'd like to bring in to this that you didn't ask is that you asked me about what we didn't expect to see.
Okay.
I'm going to flip it a little bit over and say, what did we hear that the employers were surprised and didn't expect to see? And what I hear from employers is how much time this is saving them. Whereas they used to have 120 resumes in front of them,
yep.
Because they're using the fit score to sort their candidates, they can look at 10 people, look at those 10 people's background information, look at those 10 people's resumes because they had strong fit scores. They had the highest fit scores on their chart.
Right.
And then look at their education, work experience, and start the process with them. And if they don't find what they're looking for in those 10 people, they go to the next 10 people.
Right.
And I get comments like, wow, I'm spending less than half the time I used to on the hiring process because I'm spending my time with better quality candidates.
Excellent. That's probably a good place to end because something that will save me time is always a bonus in the office. If a listener wants to continue this conversation with you and your company, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is Tim at FitFirstTech.com, FitFirst.com. And I'm happy to have any conversation. Always the best way is to give me a shout. Also, iPloyment.com. You can go to the website there. There's a live chat window, I believe, there as well.
Okay. And we'll be putting links to all of this on the webpage for this podcast as well.
There you go.
Awesome. So Tim Brennan, thank you very much for joining us on our podcast today. It was awesome. Lots of great information. And I would recommend everybody go check out iPloyment.com. Thanks again, Tim.
Thank you, Glenn.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Eyes Wide Open. Please visit our page at icarebusiness.ca for more information and links to today's topics and guests. If you're looking for an online optometric community, send an email to canadianoptometrygroup@gmail.com to join the Canadian Optometry Group. You will get access to a vibrant online community for Canadian optometrists. Thanks to our sponsor, Canadian Eye Care Business Review. Remember to visit them at icarebusiness.ca to stay up to date with all the latest eye care news and lots of great resources and articles on topics like practice management, marketing, products, team and leadership, and finances and operations. Thanks as well to David Petrobon for help with production. See you next time for our next episode of Eyes Wide Open.